Hey there, it's EnderVerse. Today we are doing something special. We'll be going over fantasy and magic mods. I haven't done this type of videos for the longest time, so stick around and watch till the end. These mods were quite tough to find. First mod on the list is Electroblob's Wizardry Redux. This mod came in to port the legendary Electroblob's Wizardry mod to newer versions of the game. The mod was distinguished through its simplicity as it lays out a clear path for you. To begin your journey, you go find one of the mod structures, then try to survive the trial against those mages. There will be a barrier too, so you either leave this place with the loot or in a coffin. So the mod is simple, but definitely not easy. Anyways, the loot here usually has a lot of useful raw materials as well as a scroll of some sort. And magic crystals in particular can help you create wands, spell books, magical robes, and a workbench which will let you upgrade your gear and refill their mana pool. The scrolls here are so enjoyable to use. Their visuals are fascinating and they are branched from natural elements such as fire, earth, water, and more. This is a huge mod and it's sure to revamp your mod pack's magical elements now it's playable on 1.20.1. Up next we have Saint's Dragons. This is a mod that adds 5 different dragons scattered across different biomes. And a nice side fact, the mod has full compatibility with some old generation mods like Biomes of Plenty, with you being able to find the dragons within the new biomes too. These dragons are not the easiest to pacify. They will require you to battle them and halve their health, which obviously isn't an easy task as you can see, but is worth the trouble. The EnderVerse dragon in particular is so powerful and quite fast too, as you can skip terrains very easily, as well as demolish mobs with special ranged and melee attacks. EnderVerse aside, there are 2 more dragons to choose, each with their own unique abilities and outlook. The last 2 dragons, however, are not winged, but they help for land transportation and they have unique attacks of their own. There are also plenty of items that can ease ownership of multiple dragons, and the dragons can even be bred for eggs for more dragons. I did mention this mod in the past, and commendable of the author, they implemented my suggestions. The textures of these dragons are a lot more pleasing now. The mod has also grown a lot less buggy and very stable, so it will make for a fine addition to your next fantasy mod pack. This mod adds a lot of fictional hostile creatures to the game. These monsters came in different forms and sizes, and their origins are entirely the author's imagination, making them a perfect fit for this video. There are 3 monsters here that are my favorite. First there is the Skyvern, a mob that looks quite similar to mythical Japanese dragons. This monster will charge you and fly away, and its remains can be used to craft a brand new bow which will shoot non-gravity arrows as well as giving you slow falling while pulled. The Guzzler is a mob that spits fire slimes at you and can body slam the ground, dealing area damage. When killed, it allows for the crafting of a new tool that can mine 3x3 areas. And my final favorite mob here is the Vault. This monster will shock you with electricity, hop back to evade your attacks, and drops electrical charges that are good for crafting special bombs, different crossbows, new types of swords, and a full armor set. As you saw, the quality of those mods is incredibly good, and the nature of these monsters make this mod the best enemy expansion project to add to any fantasy mod pack. Fantasy mods are always full of content. You will need a solid machine to run a big server with them. For that, I present to you Pine Hosting. Any price you end up paying, you get a 30% discount when using my code ENDER for your first month. Should you want to install a pre-built fantasy mod pack like Fantasy MC or DawnCraft, the instant mod pack installer here will be plenty useful. You can also add and remove any content very easily, as well as monitor the logs and the performance of your server, all thanks to this clear control panel. Pine Hosting is a small business with people constantly trying to improve their components and service. As a result, your server will have the best chunk loading thanks to their latest Ryzen CPUs, low latency and reliable storage thanks to their SSDs and backup options, DDR5 RAMs for minimal lag when the server is full of entities and players, as well as quick and intuitive technical help should the server crash or even when you want to move an old server from different services to Pine Hosting. By using Pine Hosting, you help support the EnderVerse channel and get a service you can both trust and influence. If you have any problems or any suggestions regarding Pine Hosting, please be sure to comment them down below. I'll tend to them as fast as I can. Now let's go back to modding. Hexerei is a very special mod on the list. It's all about alchemy and witchcraft. The mixing cauldron is where you will start here. You fill it up with lava or water, put seagulls in it, and then follow through with a specific recipe. The mixing cauldron can be used to alchemize all sorts of things, from brooms for quick transportation, to satchels which add extra storage to set brooms, to warhammers for combat, cloth for witch robes that will make witches consider you one of their own, and so much more. The mod also adds a crow you can tame and command it to sit, follow, or even steal from villagers and deliver back to you. Furthermore, the author has improved the swamp biome and added a new wood set that can be helpful for dark building designs. Hexerei is filled with good quality content and pleasant surprises, and the theme here is very unusual and doesn't conflict with any of the mods on this list. So this mod is as modpack friendly as it can get. Inhabitants adds 3 mythical creatures that can be found in different biomes and different dimensions too. The highlight of the mod is undoubtedly this ogre-like creature named the Boggart. He dwells on his own lair cooking people for dinner. The Boggart is naturally aggressive, but if you manage to give him a piece of rotten flesh or a fish, he will grab it, put it on his cauldron, sear it heartily, and prepare it into an uncanny soup, which will help you disguise yourself amongst hostile mobs. The next mob is the Impaler. It can be found on the caves and will attack on sight, releasing a sonic boom attack which trembles the caves, causing the dripstone to fall on your head. Killing this mob will grant you its spikes, which can be used as high knockback ammunition for the crossbow. And the final mob here is the Warped Clam. This is an end-based creature which does nothing beside launching you to the sky if you step on it, so it will make for a perfect launching pad. You can also scoop it up from the ground using a shovel, as well as brushing her up for ender pearls. This mod also touches on the swamp biome in Minecraft, with surface features including better world generation, new plants and new blocks, and deeper features including a new race of creatures to the swamp, those being the Impillagers. Those new races of mobs will trade items with you based on their profession. They could be tank collectors, musicians, bankers, and more. This is just the mod for this video's theme. New races are at the core of any fantasy universe, and the use of the Impillagers and the new blocks here is also a nice extra that will go a long way in making an enjoyable fantasy mod pack. Ghosts is a very small and self-explanatory mod. Around the forest you will find ghosts. They can be tamed with glowberries and will help you with different things like lighting up the way, saving your life with a totem of undying, as well as working as a portable grindstone. There are also small ghosts that can't be tamed but act uniquely, as they replant trees and hide during nighttime. A recent update, however, added a new ghost called Kodama, which will trade random saplings with you for amethyst shards, including rare haunted saplings. The haunted trees are quite useful. They will help you craft the calibrated haunted eye, a redstone contraption that can send a signal the moment it senses someone within its radius, which can be perfect for certain landmines. This mod adds floating islands to Minecraft. The floating islands vary in their design and can have different inhabitants too. Floating islands are by nature fantastic. Think of Skypiea from One Piece or Columbia from Bioshock Infinite. Both universes are fantasy filled, so the addition of floating islands will be plenty transformative in any fantasy mod pack. Up next we have PasterDream. This mod allows you to enter a new dreamscape dimension through sleeping. Some of these dimensions like the Wind Journey and the Daydream are truly fascinating and delightful to roam. However, places like Aronkus and the Lamp Shadow are horrific spots filled with unpleasantness. That's what happens when you fall asleep and end up having a nightmare. These new dimensions are teeming with features. Throughout your journey, you'll find new structures and fight different enemies, each of whom relate heavily to their motherland. There are also different new blocks you could use to either decorate your house or forge new weapons amongst other functionalities. Unfortunately, the stats of these items are written in Japanese, so I urge the author to translate it to English for a broader audience. This mod is quite good, and it expands the game's fictional theme tremendously, so give it a try. Those are new dimensions, so they won't mess up your server's performance so much. Species is one of the best mods to add new fictional creatures to the game. The mobs here are designed to be as useful and as entertaining as possible. My favorites amongst these mobs include the Cruncher, a dinosaur you can hatch and pacify through hitting and feeding it, The bird, a small electrical bird that can be found dwelling inside trees, with their eggs being used to stun mobs. And my last favorite mob is the Creeper, a mighty spruce tree that is related to creepers. This mob turns into a casual tree during daytime and is actually indestructible, though fortunately peaceful. You can strip it with an axe for pine cones that you can plant and grow for explosive companions. As I said earlier, you are able to get all sorts of new items and tools from fighting or befriending these species, and given the stupendous amount of mobs here, as well as their fictional nature, this mod will single-handedly reimagine fauna on your world. This mod adds gargoyle variants called Gramblos. These creatures are just blocks, a piece of stone to decorate your builds up until a lightning bolt strikes it. Then the gargoyle springs to life. The Gramblo gargoyle isn't aggressive by nature, but you don't want to be on its bad side. They can be used either to scare mobs away and keep your base clean, or for pest control in caves as they kill silverfish. To pick the gargoyle, just right click it with a pickaxe. From there you can spawn it on the spot for any purpose. Gargoyles are central to many fantasies, so be sure to give this mod a try. You'll find its content both dependable and pleasant. This mod provides what is perhaps the most enjoyable dungeon conquering experience you could try right now. Dark Fantasy Nordic Tombs adds new types of structures with some advanced mechanics, including Dungeon Z's portal system, Supplementary's combat items, as well as the Draugrs from the Draugr Invasion mod. You can't mine blocks in here, and the enemies you'll be up against are extremely durable. Even with maxed out swords and bows, it takes several hits before they are down. And bear in mind, they come in hordes, so you'll find yourself fleeing most of the time. The dungeons also contains automatic gates, pedestals with useful items, and more. Eventually you'll be up against the Draugr Lord. This is a very powerful boss that can block your attack and quake the earth with his sword. I haven't had this much fun exploring a dungeon in Minecraft in a very long time, and due to the content of the dungeon being interdimensional, the server's DPS, that is, its stability and performance, was relatively good compared to what it would have been should the dungeon spawn in the overworld. Paradise Lost is inspired by the Ether mod, but there are key differences that makes this mod a considerable option still. The way to get here is a little trickier than the Ether mod, as you will need to have made potions already. You then place calcite in this form and throw splash potions of healing at it. The calcite will then turn into blooming calcite. From there you spill a water bucket on the frame and it will lit. The new dimension here is very beautiful. The textures are quite modernistic and you can find leaf piles, boulders and hollow logs in the forest, which helps in improving the ambience of this world. You could also tame these bird creatures called the mows with raw beef. This way you could saddle them up and use them for transportation. The structures here can range from small towers to ruined towns to huge castles are quite tough to conquer. The loot you could get here is also very good. There are bloodstones with different magical properties, a magic wand that levitates mobs, a totem that can save you from death by the void, which is very useful given the nature of this dimension, as well as new weapons and armors with special abilities. This is a very thorough and fantastic mod, and again, it has the perk of being a different dimension, which will ease the load on your server. Enchanted Witchcraft is quite similar to Hexerei, but has extra features and different mechanics that will make you consider it regardless. You can build power stations using plants and altars, as well as using the energy from said station to power magical rituals for all sorts of things. The items here can be useful in many ways, either to be saved from various types of deaths, as well as being used offensively during battle. This mod can be brutally complex, so if you're a person who loves picking at their brains, this one will be more than enough for that. However, if you are like me and prefer straightforwardness, Hexerei will serve better. Dragon Survival is perhaps the most transformative mod on the list, and that's not due to its structures or entities, but simply due to the fact that it will make you spawn and survive as a dragon. You can customize the dragon's shape, textures and origins, and based on the type of dragon you choose, you will have special abilities as well as limitations too. With time, you will get stronger and bigger. You will be able to fly very fast, as well as execute a variety of dragon attacks and skills. I'm sure you guys are familiar with isekai shows, where characters die or sleep and wake up in a different body and in a different universe. Those are personally my favorite fantasies, and so this mod had to be included here. Also, Dragon Survival has a lot of add-ons that make you roleplay different kinds of dragons outside of this mod, and sometimes no dragons at all. Eternal Starlight is one of the brightest projects on the list. This mod adds a mystical new dimension called the Starlight. The commute alone is a very exciting journey, as you will first need to fight against the Gatekeeper. This guy is very powerful, and your mission here is to simply prove your worth in battle. This way they can give you the necessary items to pass the portal. The Starlight dimension is quite whimsical. There are different mobs you can find here, all behaving differently and roaming specific biomes that are filled with raw materials to harvest, as well as looking fabulous, especially with shaders. The author has also added 2 main bosses to fight, each featuring a unique lore, different abilities, as well as stronger phases to undergo when nearly killed. To top it off, the fight against these bosses isn't just about strength. The flower boss, for instance, receives negligible damage unless you fight it with fire, and Forge Golem, on the other hand, receives 0 damage up until you deactivate the regenerators around it with redstone. The Starlight adventure is definitely worth it. Not only do you enjoy the journey, but also get fine rewards, as there are plenty of weapons and armors that are personalized with special effects. I really love this mod. The quality of the visuals and the sounds is surreal, and the lore here is expansive and exciting. Sadly though, it's not for Forge 1.20.1, but it works on NeoForge and Fabric 1.21.1, 2 versions that are slowly but surely dominating the modding scene, so I'm positive you'll find it valuable nonetheless. Dungeons Enhanced mod adds plenty of new structures built in a rather medieval and sometimes entirely fantastic style. The author designed these buildings beautifully, no wall gen glitches or overpowered loot. They're also spaced very far away from each other, which allows for the addition of other wall generation mods, as well as preventing your terrains from being bloated. The author also introduced dungeons buried deep in the ground with enemies that are horrifying, to put it lightly. This has only added to the fantasy element of this mod and made it perfect for this video. Beneath the Wetlands is a mod that will add a new adventure located in the swamp biomes. Exploring the misty swamps, you will now come across a mossy and ancient steampunk facility. Go on a little deeper into this place and you will find yourself up against the Elder Gear Golem. This boss only features 2 attacks and isn't terribly hard to defeat, but the fight felt satisfying still, and the quality of the golem is top notch. You can also harvest the materials from this place to create gears that can help you construct a host of redstone contraptions, as well as making your own gear golem. It doesn't have the cannon attack sadly, but it's tough enough that you should consider it on the list. This mod is quite rich in fantasy elements and is focused on the steampunk theme, one of my favorites. The only downside is that it hasn't updated for 3 whole years, but it made it past 1.20.1, so I reckon it will come in handy for many of you friends. Larion Wall Generation is a mod that will enhance the formation of the terrain and make it wilder and, more importantly, fantastic. The terrains here aren't necessarily fictional, they are more or less realistic, but the author drew inspiration from epic fantasy titles. I don't know which ones in particular, but I see where they were going with this mod. In games like Skyrim, Tainted Grail, The Witcher, and other medieval fantasy games, the terrains are usually uneven and not flat, so this mod will be the best project we could choose for a medieval fantasy mod pack. However, if you are more into new blocks and new items, something like all the biomes we've gone will be a fetching option for you. And the final mod on the list is Clothing of the Lowlands. This project adds new armors with different uses and buffs, and while a few of them are realistic, like the scuba gear armor set, the majority are either entirely fictional or bounce in between medieval and fantastic. The base stats of the armors are good enough that you would not be sacrificing basic protection for extra effects, and the designs here are breathtaking, with beautiful 3D models and aesthetic textures too. Also, creating these armors is a whole different adventure in of itself, requiring a lot of new items. All are either based on vanilla items or can be found on loot chests. This will be the perfect mod if you want to supplement your fantasy mod pack with some armors and clothes. So give it a try, my friend. Thanks for watching. Part 2 isn't planned yet, but I'll do my best to get it out as soon as possible. So just in case, subscribe and turn on the bell to not miss it out. Also, if you have decided on a fantasy mod pack, make sure to use Pine Hosting and use my code ENDER on the checkout. You support me and get a 30% discount on your first month. Now see ya in the next one, my friend.